All right, I think we're live. How's everyone doing? It is currently 6 p.m. here, CST in Chicago. Where are you guys coming in from? In the US, in India, I bet. I do know a lot, I have a lot of Indian viewers. Morocco, maybe? Let me know. Canada, there has to be someone from Canada too. Fellow Canadian here. How's everyone doing? Ooh, I'm so excited for today's live stream. Yeah, the Google Data Analytics Professional Certificate. I think it is the real deal here. I'm super, super excited. Logan, you're coming in from Denver. Nice. Melody Max, so glad to see you here. Hey, how's it going? Pit Bomadil, Spain. Places that I wish I can go to after quarantine finishes. Spain. Chris, in Europe it's 1 a.m. Wow. Thank you so much for joining. I really, really appreciate it that you actually stayed up late to be able to join. It's 1 a.m. All right, we'll get started in maybe a couple minutes, see if anybody else is also going to join. Augustine, hey, how's it going? England, UK, 11 p.m. Come to the Matthew Jama, come to the UK. I would love to come to the UK. I really would. I haven't, the only place I've been to in Europe is Amsterdam. Yeah, I've been to the Netherlands maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, I think. Actually, it was even longer. It was like quite a few years ago. I loved Amsterdam. It was such a cool city. Everybody there was so friendly as well, and people were just really tall. I feel like a midget when I'm there. Dino, Houston, Washington, Somalia, 2 a.m. Wow. I really appreciate that you're here. Matthew, Queen Elizabeth is head of the Canada. Yes, she is. She is. Yeah, fun fact. The Canada still has a monarch. We're still considered our queen, the Queen of England. Ibrahim, I'm so glad you could join. So glad you could join. Um, you, to do your job, was MCIT certainly needed, or could you have DIY learned everything to get to the same place? I'm gonna have a Q&A after going through the data analytics certificate program, and then feel free to ask me questions there. I like to focus, in the beginning, I like to focus more on the data analytics certificate itself. Yep. All right, shall we get started? I'm just gonna pull it up right now. I think we have critical mass. Also, Beep Beep here is like just drinking from my water. I don't know if you guys, I don't think you guys can see him. He's drinking my water right next to me. Oh, I see that some of you guys already started the Google Data Analytics certificate. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I'm so excited for it. Albert, so glad you could join. I'm so glad. Albert, I'm so happy that you're able to join. I know that you started a certificate recently too, right? Okay, let me make my screen into the certificate so we can get started. By the way, if you see me looking down, I'm just looking at my computer right in front of you guys. Okay, so where should I get started? Okay, I think you guys can see. Ooh, there. I think you can see my face now too. Yeah. So, okay, just kind of, I'm going to go over what's happening today because I just think that this certificate is so good. I think it does a great job in covering the essentials of data analytics, and it's also very business aligned, which makes it really realistic. So a lot of courses out there, they teach you some great material, but it's not really applicable to your job. And I think Google does a really good job in actually packaging things together and things that are useful. Also, huge fan of project-based learning as well. So that's another reason why I think this is absolutely great. Let me actually just cover some kind of like an intro of what's happening. So first of all, for those who don't know me, my name is Tina. I'm a data scientist. I am not a data analyst. I work in tech, I work at a FAANG company. However, I do work with a lot of data analysts, and I really want to say that there's a lot of overlap between a data analyst job and a data scientist job. So that's why I feel like I am equipped enough to actually talk about this certificate. And also, I think this course isn't just for data science, data analytics. There's also, if you look at the course, who is suitable for the course, there's also positions such as junior data scientist positions. And I think I do agree with that as well. And I'll touch upon that a little bit later as well. Okay, so what we're going to cover today, we're going to go through the website and go through a general overview of the certificate. And we'll quickly walk through the course in the certificate, and I'll give you my thoughts on the content as well as the delivery. I'll also be focusing really heavily on the job readiness claim, because I think this is what makes the certificate special, is that it has a very bold claim. Beep, beep. There's beep beep there. It has a very bold claim about the fact that you would be able to get a job just having their certificate and having no other experience outside of that. So we're going to cover that, and then I'll talk about who I think will benefit the most from the certificate. And finally, I want to have an entire section that's dedicated to how to actually maximize your chances of successfully completing this certificate, because it is a pretty intensive process. You know, the recommended amount of time to complete it is half a year. Yeah, it's like 6 months at 10 hours per week. So we want to be able to maximize our chances of actually being able to complete everything and reap all those benefits. Lastly, I do want this to be an interactive session. So if you already started a course or you're looking into, you're interested in it, please feel free to participate and comment. I'll be moderating all the comments as well. All right. So kind of just looking at your comments right now. Yeah, a lot of you guys already started, right? Albert, you started. Arjun, English Mill, you started as well. Nice, nice. All right, so why don't we just jump straight into it then? Okay. There. I think you guys should be able to see my screen now. So yeah, just quick overview of what's happening here. This is the Google Data Analytics Professional Certificate. And it claims here that this is your path and career to data analytics, and you'll learn in-demand skills that will have you job ready in less than 6 months. No degree or experience required. A very, very bold claim here. So we'll be evaluating that. Yeah, you get a free 7-day trial period, or you can just audit the course, which is what I did in order to go through everything if you don't actually need a certificate and you just want to look at the knowledge that's available. Okay, so what you'll learn in the course. You'll gain an immersive understanding of the practices and processes, just basically the everyday immersive understanding of what a data analyst does on a day-to-day basis. You also learn these key analytical skill sets, which is tools. They go through end tools like data cleaning, analysis, and then they go through spreadsheet, SQL, or I'll come back to this choice later, the choice of using R and Tableau. Finally, you know, they're going to teach you about visualizations, dashboards, presentations, all extremely, extremely important skill sets, and how to clean data and complete analysis and calculations using spreadsheets, SQL, and R. Okay, cool. You guys can see beep beep here. Okay, so yeah, I'm not going to go over so much over here because you guys can read it yourself as well. It just basically says there's lots of jobs that are available in the US and around the world as well, and the average salary is around $67,000 and $900. That sounds about correct to me. That is pretty much what I think, like, yeah, the average salary is a little bit higher in larger countries, but on average in the US, I think that is what you're going to be getting. Okay, and then this is the part which I was so excited about. It's the applied learning project. They have they have a capstone project in the end, which we'll be going through as well, which I think is absolutely brilliant, and it's the best way to learn, and most certificates don't offer this. So it's very applied learning. Okay, and a bunch of like testimonials. Okay, so here we're getting to the meat of the course, the meat of this certificate. There's 8 different courses that are being covered here. And we're going to go through each of these pretty quickly, and I'll just kind of give you my thoughts on how they all fit together and how I feel like they cover the basis of data analytics. So you have foundations, data everywhere, ask questions to make data-driven decisions, prepare data for exploration, process data from dirty to clean, and so on. So I'm just gonna check if you guys are cool with it. But if so, I'm just gonna start off with going through data everywhere. I've also enrolled into courses here. So let me just check this stream. Let's see. Yeah, so Investify 6 months is based on 10 hours per week. Yep, that's, oh gosh. That's correct. And yeah, and if you can probably finish it in a shorter amount of time as well. I'm not paying for the course. I'm just auditing the course right now because I just wanted to look at it in terms of like what is actually covered in the material. Okay, cool. So let us, I'm gonna go over what I think about the courses, each of these 8 courses, one by one, pretty quickly. So this is the foundations, and I think this course is very, it's like a general overview of what's happening. I think it does a pretty good job in introducing what the course is, like sorry, what data analytics is. I think it does a pretty good job here. I went through them personally, like I looked at a few of the videos myself, and I think they are very well productionized. So that's something that I really want to give Google credit for. They're very well productionized and they're easy to digest. And they weren't kidding when they said that they're going literally from zero. They like literally explain to you what data analytics is. So yeah, if you go under like week 1, let's see, foundations, yeah, just a welcome meet and greet. Oh, I did the practice quiz because there's an optional practice quiz in which you can see if you can take the expedited version and just skip through this course or not. And the recommended number that you should be doing, that you should be skipping, is if you get over 90%. And I got 89.6%. So I guess I shouldn't be skipping this myself. But anyways, yeah, transforming data into insights, it goes through all of this information. And I think what you guys are probably more interested in, instead of me just going through them, is kind of like how I feel about it. So I think it does a pretty good job in teaching you the fundamentals. If you know what data analytics is, or you're dabbled in it yourself, I don't think this course is very necessary for you. Truthfully, most of you guys who are going to be taking this course probably already know why you're going to be taking this course, and what data analytics is. So I would probably just like personally just take the quizzes, take the expedited version, but take the quizzes throughout, and look at some of the gaps in your knowledge that potentially you might not be aware of, or you think could be interesting, and kind of go through those. I'll also talk a little bit later about how my recommended approach to like taking notes and how to actually like retain that information later on. But for now, yeah, so I think this is pretty good. So Albert, you got 87%. I mean, yeah, in that case, at that point, you should really I think you should just skip over a lot of the stuff that's already here. It's very like, how do you say, like, it's an overview. It's very much an overview. Yep. And so the next one is the one that I'm actually really excited about, and I think I'm so happy that Google included this. And this is let's see right here. Okay, ask questions to make data-driven decisions. Okay, so let me tell you guys why I think this is such a great course. So the reason for this is because I feel like there's such an emphasis nowadays on just like learning tools of the trade, like learning, oh, like if you learn Python, you learn R, you learn like statistics, where you learn like spreadsheets, Tableau, and you just think that, oh, if you do like lots of personal projects and you know how to use these tools, then everything is fine. Then you're like, wow, like I must be really good at data analytics already. And that's really not the case. Like, I'm saying this from experience myself. I'm still an entry-level data scientist, and I went in being like pretty confident. I'm like, I got this, I got the technical stuff down. I know how to do SQL. I know how to do R. I know how to do Python. I know how to do these things. And really though, what actually matters in the end isn't the technical stuff. It's your ability of actually taking business problems and asking the right questions, and being able to translate that into doing analyses that would then answer those questions and then communicate it back to the people. Right? You have to be able to communicate that back to the people who asked you those questions in the first place in order to drive impact through that. And I think this is a skill set that's so minimized. Like, people don't really look into that at all. And you're just kind of expected to figure it out when you get on the job. And it took me like months and months. I'm still trying to figure it out now because I never had that basis. So this is why I'm so excited that this course is there, that they actually have an entire course that's dedicated to asking questions to make data-driven decisions. So yeah, like, and I look through each of these, like week 1, week 2, week 3, and I think this is really great. They actually teach you like a very systematic approach to figuring out how to ask the right questions and how to use data to actually drive those decisions later. So out of this course, I love that emphasis on that, and I highly recommend you you should be paying attention anyway, but pay extra attention to this section. This is really important once you actually get on the job. This skill set is extremely important. It is important for data scientists, and I want to say it's actually even more important for data analysts because you're even more aligned to the business than a data scientist is. All right, moving on. Okay, let's see any comments from people. Oh, hey, Andrew, thanks for dropping by. Thanks. Congrats on, how much are you at 58K now? Victoria, if you understand Python, R shouldn't be hard to pick up. Yeah, I mean, honestly, programming languages themselves are not hard to pick up on. If you know one of them, they're really not difficult to pick up on after that. It's really just, they're all quite similar to each other. Let's see. Any questions? Lonely Seer, you just joined the course. Yeah, awesome. Like, let me know what you think as well. Like, I would love to get your thoughts on how you feel going through the course and just starting off in the course. Okay, so let's keep moving on over here. The next course, I'm gonna try to go through these a little bit faster so I can kind of give you like the general overview and my guide on how to learn better. So, okay, the next one is prepare data for exploration. Again, I think this is really important. You can't really do anything with data if your data is not even prepared for you to do that, right? So this is when I think they introduced like tools like spreadsheets and SQL to extract and make use of the right data for your objectives. If you work at a larger company, most of your work is going to be done using SQL. I want to say, like, yes, spreadsheets are useful when you're doing like certain like models and things like that as a data analyst, but SQL is very fundamental. And for data scientists, you pretty much just need to focus on SQL. Like, nobody's going to ask you questions about spreadsheets. Yeah, and then this was also a really great course, preparing data for exploration, and then just after that, okay, this is course number 4 is also one that I'm really excited about. Process data from dirty to clean. They actually have an entire course dedicated to processing data, to data cleaning. And this is, again, it's like that business question kind of thing, right? This is another skill set that's really neglected when you just look at traditional certificates or programs, especially when you like, I know like what's really popular these days is something like Kaggle, right? And people just like do Kaggle competitions and they think like, oh, like this is how work is gonna be. And when in fact, like Kaggle covers like maybe like 20 to like 30% of what data scientists and data analysts even do. A lot of that time is spent on asking the right questions, communicating the right questions, and then processing your data. Also like finding your data. That's another one, finding your data and making it clean enough for you to even extract those insights that can be used in the business. So really glad that they included this. And I see they use spreadsheets as well as SQL queries for use on databases. Again, I think SQL is going to be much more important if you're working at a company that has a lot more data. It probably wouldn't be stored in spreadsheets just because spreadsheets are not, they're not the best in terms of reproducibility. And it's kind of easy to mess up, at least from my experience. As you can see, I'm not as big of a fan of spreadsheets. So, okay, moving on. Analyze data to answer questions. This one was, I remember looking through this one. These courses will equip you with the skills needed to apply to introductory level data analyst jobs. Okay, but learn how to organize data for analysis, discover the process for formatting and adjusting data. Use formulas, functions, and spreadsheets. Okay, so this was, I remember now. I looked into this like maybe a couple days back. This is really the meat of how to actually answer their questions and have that business question in hand and be able to analyze it using SQL or spreadsheets. I really also like the way that they did it so that they have a very systematic approach to how to answer these questions, which is very hypothesis driven. And that's something, again, I think is really great that they're stressing out, like that framework of how to approach these questions and answering them systematically. I believe they also have a section that's dedicated to making sure that your queries are actually correct, and making sure that everything, double checking what you're doing. Because another thing I like to talk about a lot is, when you're doing data science or data analytics, you always get a result, if you're doing like software engineering or some sort of like more, software engineering or like hardware engineering, things like that, if something doesn't work, then you get a bug, right? Like you clearly know that it's not going to work. But with data science and data analytics, a really big issue is that you can like screw something up pretty bad, and you wouldn't even know because they would still give you a result for it. You still get an answer even though the answer is incorrect. So it's really, really important to be able to develop a system of going through analysis to make sure that what you're doing is actually correct, because there's nothing more embarrassing and also damaging than you doing like analysis, making a presentation about it and showing it to people, and then they're just like someone, like you either find an issue yourself or someone else finds an issue, and then you have to like redo the presentation and go like, I'm so sorry, like this is like, wrong, right? This is completely wrong. And it's like bad for the firm, especially if you don't even catch your mistake, and on you, like that's not good for your reputation. So really like how they develop a system for you to actually go through these questions. All right, looking back on the chat a little bit. Shubham, how can I join this class? You can join the class you can just go to Coursera, where you can just Google Data Analytics Certificate, and you should be able to access it. Yeah, it should be, I think it's available in most countries now, at least the first few courses. Some of them are not, but the first few should be available everywhere now. Let's see. Porntipa, guys, I have a question. Is this course really a good foundation if I might change to data scientist later on? That's a really good question. I'm gonna just briefly answer that. So yes, I do think so. I think this course, as I'll go on, because it'll give you a job as a data analyst, it's a lot easier to become a data analyst if you come from a non-technical background. So if you're able to get a data analyst job here, then you already have a lot of the skill sets that overlap between data scientists and data analysts. And then you just have to up your skill set more in the statistics and in the programming side of things. So yes, I do believe so. Okay. Moving forward, stay on track. And then art of data visualization, again, great. They use Tableau. As a data scientist, I don't usually use data visualization tools. I do things programmatically, but as a data analyst, that is extremely important. And I'm really glad that they are covering visualization, and not just the tool, but also how to form a compelling narrative through data stories. I think this one is, this is also something that's just really important, because you can get all these insights, right? And if you just like plop the data in someone's lap, or like you send them an email, like literally nobody cares. That's the funny thing, right? You're like, wow, like this analysis is so amazing. I like spent so much time on it, you're able to improve whatever like business thing so much better. But you realize if you don't know how to tell a compelling narrative through data stories, nobody's gonna even look at your analysis, and they're not even gonna care. So this is extremely, extremely important. And finally, so we have course number 7, data analysis with R. Okay, so I knew that this is gonna come at some point. We're gonna have to talk about their choice of using R. So I've used R myself. I actually started my programming journey using R, and that's mostly because I started off doing research, and in research, R is a lot more prevalent. However, I quickly migrated to Python because of the much better ML algorithms that were available. And also in industry, Python is going to be the predominant language here. Like there's people who I work with who kind of do R like once in a while, because I know R is really convenient in terms of like visualizations as well as manipulations and statistics. So you can do that, but majority of code is going to be written in Python because it integrates a lot better into all the other aspects of data science, data analytics, and then the software engineering stack. So it kind of all like integrates together, and things are just there's better support for using Python. So most companies in industry will generally prefer that you use Python. However, what I want to say is I don't want to invalidate this course. I'm not saying like you should definitely not be like, I'm not going to take this certificate because it's teaching me R instead of Python. Like that is not a good reason to not take this course. Would I have preferred they did it in Python? Yes. If they're doing an R, that's okay, right? You learn R. It's a perfectly good language. And especially if you're going to like research or anything like that, like R is perfectly fine. It's actually like the preferred language. If you're going to industry, you can just learn Python by yourself. Like once you know how to do R, just learning Python, it's just another coding language, another scripting language. So it's really not that bad. What I would recommend is like go through this class and it's going to teach you how to like do all these like data analysis, these manipulations, and then just go and learn them in Python. They're similar enough. Like a lot of the syntax might be like slightly different, but they're really similar enough. And the approach to how to do these analysis is very, very similar. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about the teaching in R part versus Python? Like, is that something that you were kind of like pretty unsure about and like almost feeling like a little bit derailed about that? Or were you just like, oh, it's okay. Like, I don't really have a preference. While I wait for answers, I'm just gonna have some water. Lonely Seer. Python is more easy to learn, but I think R is challenging. R is the challenging part in this course. I've actually heard from a lot of people that they actually they think R is a lot easier to learn, and I actually want to agree with that. I actually agree. I think in terms of data analysis, and visualizations, R is a lot easier to start learning because it's a pure scripting language. And like the way that it's formatted is a lot more intuitive, I feel like. Yeah, and with Python, because it's programmatic, you're gonna get more like programmatic functions. Like for example, in R, you can do like those little arrows and stuff and chain commands really easily. While in Python, you can chain commands as well, but it's like it's more confusing and there's less support for doing that. That's my 2 cents. Logan, Python over R. Abby, I think in the public sector they use R. Okay, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. The only place that I know that they used R for sure was in the research sector, but that's really good to know that in public they also use R. Cobra, you don't have a preference. You're a complete beginner. Adrian, R is better if you want to go into health, and Python. Yeah, R is better if you want to go into research though. If you're going to health tech, I think you'll see that most things are also going to be in Python. Sergio, yes, the live will stay available after I finish. Unless I say something really bad. No, I don't think I will. Yeah, Adrian, it's better for software and general scripting. Yeah, I think just in general, most of you guys seem to prefer Python. And Lonely Seer, Google's a big company. Maybe they saw something in R for future. Yeah, maybe. That I actually don't know. I don't know what their reasoning was that they chose R. I don't know if they like wrote that somewhere. Here we go. Some counter answers. Abraham, you prefer R in dimensionality analysis, but Python is almost everything else. I also think that R is harder than Python as far as working with loops. Yeah, that's the thing, right? In R, you don't do loops. Like that's actually in Python, when you're doing data analysis, the preferred way is to vectorize everything, and you should also not do loops as much as possible. So yeah, it's actually designed in that way. Python is more multifunctional. You can do loops, you can do these things, but R is really designed to be a language for data analysis. So that's why you don't get like loops and a lot of the other common things that you see in normal programming languages. Okay, cool. I'm gonna move on to my favorite, to the thing that's so exciting to me, the most exciting part. It's course number 8, which is the Google Data Analytics Capstone. Complete a case study. You guys, like this, I'm so excited by this because There's a reason why most certificates and just programs in general, they don't give you a capstone project, and or if they do give you one, it's usually in boot camps where you have to pay a lot more money, right? Here it's $39. Oh, I forgot to go over that. Sorry. I got so excited to jump in the course. So yeah, the way that it works is that it's $39, and that's per month. So you actually pay by the month. So the faster that you finish it, the less that you pay. Um, but the recommended number of months was 6 months. So you're paying like what? Like 200 something dollars if you actually do it in the recommended amount of time. But it's like regardless, very, very small amount of money. And the reason why this is so cool is like you're paying such a small amount of money, but they're actually going to support you and help you with a capstone project. And the reason why people don't usually do this is because capstone projects take a lot more resources on the course instructors, because they are like working through these like unique projects with people, and there's going to be a lot more like questions to answer. So the fact that they're including this is so great, and this is so good because you can take everything that you learn and actually apply that to your own project. It's going to be unique, and it's going to be a way of demonstrating all the skills that you learn and build up that portfolio that shows like, hey, not only do I have the certificate, here I can show you guys all the skills I'm listing on my resume. These are the things that I can actually do, and here is evidence to support that. Instead of having to go build up something completely from scratch, which can be super intimidating. This is a really good head start to doing that. Do I think that this is all you actually absolutely need to eventually land a job? I'm a little skeptical about that. I think there's so many people who are going to be doing this certificate. You can imagine there's going to be a lot of people. It's really popular. Everybody does a certificate, and they all do this capstone project. How do you choose who stands out in the end? So I think it's still important to build up a portfolio that includes this capstone project, but also includes other areas as well to make you really stand out as a candidate. But overall, this is amazing as a way to getting yourself started. So yeah, if you're going to be taking, it's an optional 8th course, the project, but I highly, highly, highly recommend that you do it. In fact, I feel like if you don't do it, you are really missing out. Like what is the best part of this class? So yeah, that's my 2 cents. All right, so we went over everything, and then now what else did I want to touch on after this? Let's see. So we walked through each course in the certificate, and I gave you my thoughts on the content delivery. So next up, I wanted to focus more on the job readiness claim, because they're essentially saying like, hey, if you do this course, then you don't need any other experience, and then you're just going to be able to come and get a job directly at Google or some other places. So before I move on to that, I wanted to see if you guys have any questions that are specific to the courses that I might be able to answer. I went through all the courses and watched a lot of the videos already. So if you guys have any specific course questions, do let me know now. Daniel, hey Tina, can you do data analyst portfolio tips and sexual reviews? I'm probably not going to be able to do that for some time being, just because I have a few other projects that I have lined up. But I do know that I think Alex the analyst, you check out his channel, he is a data analyst, he does them. Also shout out to How to Get a Data Analytics Job. They also do reviews as well. TB mode, you just joined. Can I get a quick recap? Yeah, sure. So we just I went over like just an overview of what was happening. We stepped through each of these courses and how they fit into that overall program. I kind of just gave you guys my 2 cents on why I think it's really well constructed, and I think it is really well constructed. Yeah, and then right now we're going to be jumping into the claim that you're going to be able to get a job part, which I think that's something that I really want to touch on, because most people who are going to be taking this course are probably interested in actually getting a job. All right. Lonely Seer, what do you think about the key selling point about this course? No degree required and job ready skill. Exactly. That's what I'll be touching on, as long as nobody else has any specific questions. Kevin, no, I haven't completed any of the courses myself. No, I've only gone through it. And and I went through some of the videos, I did some of the quizzes, so I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of the course. Cameron, data engineering. I have a video dedicated to data engineering. You should check that out. I'll go into a lot more detail there. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go on to the claim about being job ready in 6 months. Okay, so this is their claim. You'll learn in-demand skills that will have you job ready in less than 6 months. No degree or experience required. Okay, so how do I feel about that claim? I think if it were anybody that wasn't Google saying that, I probably would be far more skeptical. That's the truth. Like if it weren't Google that was saying that, I would be much more skeptical. Like, how are you gonna have that leverage, right? Like how are you gonna change other companies to accept your certificate? Because they usually don't, right? If you look at job requirements, it's all, even for like entry level job requirements, like needs these skill sets, and then you have to have some sort of experience, and they're always looking at that. But the fact that Google is making this claim, it makes me feel more confident that this is something that they're actually gonna make happen. And they do the whole part within these courses. They give you instructions and they walk you through how to build up your portfolio. You have that capstone project, and they also go through like interview tips, and they do all of that stuff. But what's really unique about it is, let's see where it is. I think they wrote it here. Yeah, the opportunity to connect with top employers. So I think okay, yeah. I think it was in the FAQs. Yeah. So this was the part that was really interesting. What kind of companies hire data analytics professionals? And then it was, what jobs does this program prepare me for? Okay, so they go like blah blah blah. This is like a very in-demand job, and a career data analytics allows you the opportunity to specialize. This just means you'll be focusing on in-depth knowledge. You can do like junior data analyst, data scientist, HR, payroll. Okay, here, what resources will be available to help with the job search process? Yeah, so this part. In addition to expert-led training and hands-on projects, you get access to all these like workshops and whatnot. This is really what's most important. You'll also be able to connect with over 130 US employers who are searching for candidates who have completed a Google Career Certificate. So they go on to talk about a little bit more about like this consortium, you call it, that they have, in which they have all these employers that are going to be ready. Unfortunately, we can't access that right now. At least I can't, because you have to complete all of the courses, and actually nobody can, because not all the courses are available yet. But in that hub, you'll get to connect directly with these employers who I actually believe they pledge that they will be hiring people who complete the certificate. And Google itself will be hiring from here as well. They're making this entire claim, so they're gonna go through with that, and I'm sure that they will go through with that, whereas they wouldn't be making that claim. They will be hiring from that pool of people who complete the certificates as well. So if they're going to be doing that, other companies, like with these 130 US employees and even other employers that are out there, are probably going to be like, hey, Google, like such a like huge tech company are saying like, if you do the certificate, then you're qualified enough. So these other companies are probably also going to follow suit and be able to take people who complete the certificate as well. So I am quite confident of that because of that pull that is Google. And they do a really good job in connecting you with these people and, making it such that you don't just learn a bunch of knowledge. What you have in the end is something that you can present to employers. With that being said, though, what I touched on a little bit earlier is the fact that there's so many people that are going to be doing the certificate. I think like last time I checked, which was yesterday, there was like 10,000 people already enrolled. Like how much? That's like, you're just assuming, I don't know, like a few thousand people actually finish the certificate, because most people don't finish a certificate. But assuming there's like a few thousand people that do, how do you stand out? Like if nobody has any experience and everybody just does the certificate and does the capstone project, how do you stand out in that pool? Right? And I think doing the certificate is not going to be enough in itself. What's also important is that you're going to have to build out your own portfolio. So not only do you have to have a capstone project, I think you should also put in other areas of this course and apply that to several different projects. And I think they should be end-to-end projects, all the way from like a real business use case, something that is very applicable to the workplace. and then going through that entire analysis process and then showing that that you're able to drive impact end to end. And I think that is what's going to make you really stand out, having those projects in your portfolio. I made several videos previously about like the best data science projects, things like that. So feel free to check that out if you haven't already. I emphasize a lot on not doing just like passion projects or projects that you do just, you like do a project and then it's like in your portfolio and then nothing ever happens out of it. I emphasize a lot more doing like pro bono consulting projects, research with a professor if you're still in school, things that really drive impact in the business, because that is real life experience and that's what employers are going to be looking for. I'm just going to pause here as well, see if anybody has any comments in the thread. Daniel, 26K enrolled right now. Yeah, exactly. 26K. And how long has it been released for? I think it's only been released for like a week or two, I think. Yeah, I think it's only been like a week or two. I mean, the good news, I guess like kind of good news, is the fact that most of these people are not going to complete the certificate, which is why after we discuss this job readiness, I really want to talk about how to make sure you actually complete the certificate, because self-learning is really hard and people are going to give up. Most people are going to give up. See, Lonely Seer, most companies always copy big companies. If Google is doing it, then maybe. Exactly. This is where I put my confidence as well. I'm generally very skeptical about certificate programs or just like massive online learning programs in general that claim that they'll get you a job. I think they're great for learning, but I don't think they're very good at actually getting you that job because people don't trust that, right? But because it's Google and because Google themselves said that they're going to go and hire people directly from the certificate, I think like all the other companies are like, hey, like Google's doing it. Like, who are we to say that Google doesn't know what they're doing, right? They're going to do it as well. Jordan, you're planning on taking this after Udacity Nano Degree Data Analyst, hoping to get through this one as well for concrete information. Cool. I haven't looked at the Nano degree, but yeah, I think this is a great program to get started in. Logan, what is an end-to-end project? Really, really good question. So end-to-end project, it depends on, I think this term really came up from software engineering in the beginning because it's about like building something from the beginning all the way to the end. In terms of a data analytics or data science project, what I consider and what I think I can want to say like most people consider an end-to-end project is you have a problem statement, you have something that you want to do, right? And then from that problem statement, you're going to go and do the analysis on it. In data science, we often, make some sort of model. In data analytics, you'll probably do some analytical reasoning and write up like some sort of report afterwards. And then when you have that information, right, then what? Then you have to create visualizations for that. And then you're going to put using either like Power BI or Tableau if you're a data analyst, or if you're a data scientist, usually you can use like Streamlit or some sort of programmatic approach to visualization, create a dashboard of some sort. That's a really good way of visualizing a project. And so such that people can actually see the work that you've done and understand what you're doing. And then the last step, the crucial step of an end-to-end project, have that drive impact. Data science, data analytics, what we are valuable for is not our analytical skill set, really. Because yes, you can do analysis, you can be like the best analytical person in the world, but nobody cares if you're not able to translate whatever it is that you did into impact that increases the top line of that company, increase revenue, increase, number of people who are participating, retention, things like that. You need to be able to positively impact a company or something in real life. So that's the last part. And that really is the hardest part. And it links back towards how do you find a business problem in which you can drive impact? And that's where I'm saying like you should do something like pro bono consulting, right? Because pro bono consulting is starting off with a project that clearly like someone cares about that project, right? And in the end, your analysis will lead to that project changing into a certain direction and making it better. Research is always great because somebody pretty much scoped out everything for you already, and all you have to do is follow along whatever your principal investigator or usually your postdoc is telling you to do, and then in the end you get a paper out of it, for example. So that's an end-to-end project. So things like that. I hope that answered your question. It's a little bit long-winded. Albert, usually there's less than 10% completion rate for MOOCs. Yep, I'm not surprised at all, Honestly, 10%, that sounds about right to me. We rage quit. I like your username. How do you get really good at data science? How was this journey when you first started? I'm not really good at data science. Like, I'm gonna be the first one to admit, I don't think I'm a great data scientist. I'm still an entry-level data scientist. I got my job literally 6 months ago, 7 months ago now. And yeah, I come from a CS master's degree. You can follow my journey for how I became a data scientist. I have a series of videos that are dedicated to that, but I am not an expert. All right, so I'm gonna put that out there. I'm not an expert. I know more than most people who are gonna be starting this journey because I am a data scientist. But if you compare me to the rank of data scientists, I am nowhere near the top of my in terms of ability. Adam, what's my current position? Are you still in management nowadays? No, I am not in. I was never in management. I don't think so, at least. I was never in management. I'm a data scientist in tech. Yep. Hey, Michael, how's it going? All right, Ovo, why do they have to do it in R and not Python? I honestly have no idea. If anybody knows, please let me know. I'm actually pretty curious as well. Like, why did they choose to do it in R and not Python when most industry use Python? Yeah. Yes, Albert, in terms of financial aid, you can apply for financial aid as well. And I've heard that they do pretty good in terms of granting financial aid if you can really show that you are interested in this course. Okay. On 75, is online masters in data science worth it? You're gonna have to give me something a bit more specific here, I'm afraid. Is there like a specific program that you're looking for? Yeah, I do have like a CS master's degree overview that you can look into about how I evaluate CS programs. 2310 Sammy, what about data science? Piked? I don't know how you pronounce that. Piked my interest. For me personally, I love data science, data analytics. Like it's that crossover. It's they kind of crossover. Right? It's the science part of it. By heart, I'm a scientist. I went in as pre-med. I couldn't become a doctor. I would have been a really bad doctor. But I love the science portion of it. I love discovering things. I love looking at data, analyzing it, and getting insights from it. Like, you know how people who, if you ever talk to software engineers, like really good software engineers, like what gets them going is being able to like make really awesome code, and then when they complete a project, they're like, they feel so good, right? Because they built something really, really cool. For me, like what's my drug, like what gets me going is when I'm like analyzing a bunch of data and it's like, I'm like, oh my God, I don't understand what's happening. But in the end, like that nugget of insight that I discover from that data, that is really what makes me super, super excited. It's like the fact that there's all this data here and I have to like hunt around, essentially do science to find something that's valuable and change that into something that can impact the world. And yeah, that's what gets me. Yep. Karen, hi Tina, can you give a real example of impact on your past projects? How do you provide suggestions if you don't have domain knowledge? Yeah, for me personally, I don't do like projects like Kaggle competitions, things like that. I don't do personal projects when I was applying for jobs because I knew they weren't the most helpful in getting a job. I did pro bono consulting. I also did a variety of different research projects with professors. Yeah, and I think that's what made me stand out in the end. All right. Kia Xia, how about UPenn MCIT? Yeah, so I mean MCIT, I'll just kind of touch on that. I already graduated. I graduated last year. Yeah, and I did on-campus one. Cool. Ibrahim, probably Google will teach you R, then ask for Python and job offers. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna go cover the last section. Now that we've kind of covered everything else, I'm going to cover the last section about how to actually make sure you do it. Say you're committed. You're like, this course is great. You want to become a data analyst or a data scientist, you know, or something similar to that. And you're like, I'm committed. I'm going to do all these things to get a job. But as Albert put it, you know, 10% of people actually complete this. And there's a reason for that, because self-study is so freaking hard. It's so hard, man. Like, you know, for those of you that might know, I know some of you are also in my live stream. I live stream myself going through like these these self-study courses, because if I don't, I will literally just like do nothing. I've tried so many times, like that 10%, I'm the 90%. And most, like, every single time I would start, I'm like, oh, this is so interesting. I'm like so dedicated. But then in the end, I was just like, oh man, like, I could be doing like data science, I could be doing data analytics, I can be doing this course, but I could also be watching anime. And then guess what always wins? Anime always wins. So they just, it's basically what I'm trying to say. It's really freaking hard. So you have to find a way of actually getting through it, especially for something that's this intense. Like, this is a really, really intensive program. You're supposed to, like, they recommend 6 months if you're doing 10 hours a week. You can always do less. You can always like finish it a lot faster if you have that time. For most like working professionals, if you're trying to switch careers, 10 hours per week is a pretty reasonable time period to actually finish this course, because there's just so many other things that you got to do. And the work that you're doing here, it's very applied. So it's not like you can just sit there and absorb information. You actually have to like work on projects. So 10 hours a week is reasonable. If you're like currently unemployed, where you're a student, you have extra time, you can probably knock this out in like a couple months or so. You also can pay a little bit less, although I don't think you should try to knock it out faster just so you can pay less, because it's already really, really cheap. And you don't want to like burn out, right? So yeah, what was I like literally lost my train of thought. So yeah, how do you maximize your chances of successfully completing it? First one is accountability, right? I live stream myself, so you can feel free to join me. On this, I live stream Monday, Tuesday, and Fridays from 7:30 until 9:30 a.m. before I start working. And that's how I get myself, motivate myself to show up and actually get the work done. And also there's a community that we kind of hang out together now. Like, I recognize people's names who frequently come and do the live stream with me, where we just go over, it's just a study live stream and we go over the course material like that. So that's something that you can do to keep yourself accountable. On top of that, or if the time period doesn't work for you, you can also, I have a Discord group that's available as well, and you can find a partner to work with within that Discord group. Or if you just have someone else who's really interested in learning, that's always good to have. Like, having an accountability partner is extremely, extremely important. Whether that be me while I'm live streaming, or it's like somebody else keeping you accountable. Be careful though, because one of the things that I ran into personally when like doing accountability buddies is that you keep each other accountable, but if one person is not dedicated, that can also make you less dedicated, because it works both ways. So if you're going to find an accountability partner, make sure that they are someone that is just as motivated as you are to get something, to actually get this done, and that your learning styles kind of jive together. I actually would say, like, don't go with one of your closest friends, because you're a lot more comfortable. Like, if you screw up when you forget one time, it's like you're a really good friend. You're just like, oh, like whatever, right? So you should choose someone who you don't know super well. So there's like that awkwardness. Right? Think about how awkward it is if you just go up to someone and be like, hey, like, I was too lazy to do this work, canceling something like that. So that would be my first suggestion: accountability, either with me or find someone to do this with you. And make that into a habit. Make it very consistent. You will always do it these days and at a specific time period. For me, I prefer the mornings because I get really tired after work. So I probably won't do it if I try to do it at night. So I always try to do them in the mornings. Okay, the other, I'm going to go into more about how to go through this course most productively. How do you say this word? Productively? In the most productive fashion. It's going by breadth over depth. This is something, if you haven't watched my video about how to learn data science, this is pretty much how I approach most technical or like skill set based learning now. Don't try to go through the course and be like, memorize every single thing in the course and just like take copious amounts of notes. No. What you're really doing when you're going through a course like this, that's very analytically driven, very skills driven, is that you are learning what you don't know. A lot of issue that we face is that we don't know what we don't know, right? It's like, if you don't know what you don't know, you can't look up what you don't know. But if you know what you don't know, then you can always look that up, right? So what you're really doing is getting a good breadth and understanding of all the different subjects. And then you can always go back and look it up. Google made this course. Google is also a great search engine. So you can always look up that information if you don't know it in the future. So just try to understand things in a very analytical way. Don't try to memorize stuff. Okay, I'm gonna stop here and just kind of take a look at the chat going on. We rage quit. Do you think you need to be smart to pursue this? Define smart. I think you need to be average intelligence, I would say. I don't know. It's hard. I think you need to be dead. It's not really intelligence. Like I don't think any of this, I don't really believe intelligence, truthfully speaking. What I admire a lot more than smartness and intelligence is your ability of forming a good habit, of creating systems to motivate yourself to do things. You know, that that is what I admire. And I think that's what it's going to get you a lot further in life than just pure intelligence. Um, let's see. Mihar, is this course needed for already pursuing an MS in data science? No, I definitely don't think so. No. This is a very entry-level course, and it's also specific to data analytics. So if you're going for MS in data science, you're probably looking to be a data scientist, and they'll cover most of this information. With that being said, though, if you're interested in terms of like being really good at your job afterwards, I would recommend going through the course about how to do business. What's it called again? I forget what it was called. Like the business, how to ask like data questions. That I actually would really recommend that you do go through. So I think that's a skill set they don't really teach you that well in school. And I wish that I learned it through like a course and just got it over with, as opposed to spending like 6 to 7 months to just figure things out myself. So I would recommend that. Cool. SPG 96. It's free to audit. Like you can take the courses. And that's what I'm doing. If you actually want the certificate from it, I think there's other, I think if you're doing like the capstone project, don't quote me on this one, but I think there's like certain things that are unlocked if you pay for it, but it's really cheap. It's $39 per month. So I think it's really, really worth it. Adihith, ma'am, can Indians freshers also pursue this course? Will I get a job? Really good question as well. So I'm gonna just kind of jump the gun a little bit here. I was going to say like, who is this course for? It is for entry-level people, and it is for people who want to get a job. However, it does say that right now it's only open towards US employers, and they're trying to expand India into Europe. But right now, all the aspects about like connecting you to employers is not yet available for non-US people. But definitely keep a note on that though, because they said they will be expanding in the future. Dominic, what time zone are you live streaming? Between 7:30 and 9:30? Yeah, 7:30 a.m., 9:30 a.m. CST. Yep. Okay. Would you guys mind if I quickly run to the bathroom? I promise, I'll be super fast. Here, beep beep, do you want to come and entertain everyone? BRB. I am back. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. All right. So I am gonna go ahead and talk about a few more of my tips in terms of making sure you actually complete that course. So we just went over accountability and breadth over depth, and kind of going on for breadth over depth, how to take notes. This is a mistake that I made because I came from a non-technical background. I was pre-med pharmacology in undergrad, and pharmacology is a very memorization, and it's a very memorization heavy kind of subject. So you just sit around and memorize drugs all day, essentially, and drug pathways. But because this is analytics, right? Where this is about like, it's more technical. It's about critical thinking and analysis as opposed to memorizing stuff. So my tip is that don't go and take a bunch of notes. Don't like try to like write or type down every single thing that the person is talking about, because that's not really the best way to learn in this kind of field. What's a lot better is to have a framework, right? Like write down the framework of what the person is teaching you, like as the teacher is teaching you for each of these sections, and then just like kind of write that down, like these are the topics that are being covered, and take some notes that are more that like maybe just pique your interest so that you can look back on in the future. But don't try to write every single thing down, because like I said before, breadth over depth. What you're really learning in this class is like you're understanding the framework of how to approach questions, and it's not like after you finish this class you're just like it's like done, right? You can always go back. So just write down all the things, and if you forget in the future, just come back and look at it again. And you're probably going to go over your notes multiple times, because each time that you go through it, you're going to learn a little bit more. You're going to increase your depth in all of these different subjects, because it's covering a lot of different subjects. So you're able to go deeper and deeper into that. And another thing is that I do recommend that you actually do take notes though, because it helps you stay concentrated, especially in these kind of online learning or self-study. It's really easy to just be like, like watching the class or something. If you're not taking notes, you're just like, oh, like what's Beep Beep doing, for example? And you're like, pet your cat, or like, you look outside, you're like, oh, look at that bird flying, because there's like nothing to really concentrate you. So you should definitely take notes, and it helps you retain information as well. Studies do show that taking notes, even if you never look at your notes again, actually help you retain better when you do a test afterwards compared to people who don't take notes. And finally, there is my other study tip is the fact that you should not skip the practical experience of the capstone project. I touched on this previously, and I'm just gonna sound like a broken record here, but please, please, please do not skip out on the capstone project. The best way of learning by far is by doing, and they have this inbuilt into the class, and that is like that's a miracle at $39 per month. Like that's hard to find, and the capstone project is one of the reasons why this course is so amazing. It's you can apply everything that you learned so that you actually learn it very deeply, and it helps you build that portfolio out. And I know they have a lot of practical exercises as well as you go through the course. Do not skip those as well. If you want to skip some of the videos, that's fine. If you feel like you know the information already, that's totally fine. Just take the quizzes, you pass, it's fine. But don't skip the hands-on stuff, especially if you come from a non-technical background. You may be like, oh, like I understand how things are working, right? But when it comes to like technical tools, especially if you're like programming or things like that, the implementation is everything. It's like a whole other beast. Implementing stuff is where you're going to spend most of your time on, and as you're implementing it, you'll start to realize that there's like actually so many things that you don't understand, and you would never have known that if you just went through the overview and just feel like you understood things at a high level. So yeah, those are my tips on how to keep accountable and actually finish up this certificate. Again, this is such a great certificate, but it doesn't mean anything if you are not able to finish it, right? Which is what happens to most people. All right, I'm gonna switch up to, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover, I think. Let's see what other comments people have here. Oh, actually, there was one more topic that I did want to cover for you guys before I kind of open up for Q&A. I'll be happy to answer any questions related to the certificate. We're not related to the certificate. And that topic, let's see here, is who is this good for? So Google says pretty clearly that this certificate is really good for people who are wanting to transition into data analytics. I think it's especially good for people who may have a similar job right now, like maybe as a business analyst or something similar. They're looking to up their skill sets to get another to either like get promoted or parallel change to a data analyst job, or at another company, because that will make you stand out. This certificate will definitely make you stand out, and you stand out for the rest of the pack because you actually have that real life job experience. It's also definitely for people who are who don't know anything right now and want to get into data analytics. Again, I think you do need to build out your portfolio a little bit more than just whatever is covered in the course, but it is very entry level. They start from the very, very beginning and go all the way up to the capstone project. So if you follow that through, you will have the basis of being able to become a data analyst. And again, the entire job hunt they're going to help you out with that. I trust Google. They said that they're going to do it. They will do it. So I think this is something that you can rest easy, that if you complete that and you make yourself stand out, like nobody's going to be like, no, like, I think you'll be able to get a job. That's what I'm trying to say. But one of the things I do want to say, like, who is it not for? So I don't think that this course is good for people who wouldn't be able to dedicate that time, because like I said, it's a really extensive program. The recommendation is 6 months. Even if you do that and some people do that in 2 to 3 months if you don't have other dedications. But if you're like already have a full-time job, I don't know, like have a baby, what else? Like, or like, just you're already really busy, I wouldn't recommend taking on this because it's going to be intensive. You got to put out that time and effort to actually learning this new skill set, and it's not an easy course to pick up. So make sure that you actually have that time to dedicate yourself to. Motivation is one thing, but really having like being able to plan that on a day-to-day basis is extremely important. And another thing I wanted to bring up here was, if you are international, like if you're not, when I say international here, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit US biased here, even though I'm not even American. If you are not American, do realize that doing this certificate will not help you land a job in the States. Like you can't take the certificate and then expect employers to hire you in the States if you're not in the States. And also the job support right now is only for the United States. So if you're not in the US, they say they're going to be expanding it, but they haven't actually expanded it yet. Do keep that in mind, that you will get all the benefits, of course, to like all the information and also learning how to make a good portfolio, but you wouldn't be able to utilize that hub, the job hub that they have that will connect you to these 130 different employers, including Google. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to touch on today. Please let me know if you have any questions or some things that maybe I didn't cover. But I feel like I covered through all the different topics of the course and of my thoughts that I wanted to cover. Cool. We rage quit. What about having no motivation? If having no motivation, I think that's another issue. What happens when you have no motivation? I think that comes down to you need to do some introspecting. If you have no motivation to do this, you probably don't want to be a data analyst, and that's perfectly fine. You don't have to do something just because people think it's cool these days to do it. Okay. Eugene, I'm signing off to go start checking out the course. Thanks so much. I'm so glad. I'm glad that we were able to go through this together. Keep me updated on the course. A plethora of me desk drops are not my thing. Yeah, this is a desk drop. I think you'll do some presentations and whatnot, but it is definitely a desk drop. If that's the case, probably data analytics, data science is probably not your thing. We rage quit. I think I don't know how to study. Video coming out about how to study very soon. One of my favorite topics, how to study, my favorite topic is how to minimize effort and to maximize outcome. Because I'm really lazy and I don't like studying for long periods of time. So I spend a lot of time thinking about that. Let's see. Osama, do I need any specific background to take the course? Nope, you do not. This is supposed to be very beginner friendly, and it is. I've gone through it, the beginnings myself, and it really is very beginner friendly. Abdul, my question is, what is the most technical skill that is needed to learn a language fast, like Scala? Oh, also a very, very good question. Oh my gosh. So learning technical skills, I think, is a skill set in itself. The approach that I can like literally go on an entire video or rant about this, but just like kind of briefly, to be able to pick up a technical skill, you need to understand how technical skills work. I think I'm generally faster at picking up languages because I suffered through a computer science degree where I had to understand how things were done from a bottom-up approach. Like I was sitting there like manipulating bits and stuff, so I understand like how languages are formed. So that helps a lot in picking up skills. And another thing is like being very, very project focused. Like it's really hard if you just sit there and like learn Python or Scala or anything and just be like, let me like learn every single little detail about this language. And then I'll start after that. Like, no. The amount of time it's going to take you to do that, trust me, you're probably going to give up you're probably just gonna give up. That's what's gonna happen. There's just like way too much, right? And it's not even applicable. Just because you understand something doesn't mean you know how to apply it. So the best way to learning, all that I'm kind of getting at now, is do a project. Choose a project to do. It can be a project somebody else already did, and you're just replicating that. Doing a project and implementing it yourself is by far the best way to learn these skills. Like what I generally do when I look at a language is I first look at the general, what the language is about. Like recently I learned JavaScript, right? And I was like, oh, like JavaScript is similar to C in terms of syntax. It's a scripting language. It's also object-oriented language. And I get all these like traits, if you have a technical background, that would help you understand the language, and then go through briefly like what the data structures are, how to declare variables, how to do loops, and anything like, and after you know that, just start building a project. Decide something that you're going to do and use that language to do it. Also, I picked up Scala when I was working at Goldman Sachs. I did that in about a week because during that internship, it was in Scala and I didn't know any Scala. So that's what I did as well to pick up Scala. And then I used that project as my benchmark. Like every time, after I figured out, after like around like an hour or two of going through like Scala documentation, then I started implementing the project, and that's how I learned. Very long answer. I apologize. What other questions do you guys have? Yes, I will make a video on how to study. Ibrahim, I get motivated by watching Ken and Tina, and also chicken pasta. Ooh, chicken pasta. That sounds really motivating. I want some now. Chicken pesto pasta. I think that's what I would want. Ahmed, is the full curriculum out for this cert? All the curriculum is out, the information is out, but the entire class, all the courses are not all out. At least in the US, now that I'm checking now, the first 4 classes are out, and then the rest of them are going to be out in April. Yep. Claudia, yeah, you can start a couple months late. There's no issue to that at all. It's completely self-paced. You can learn whenever you need to learn. You can turn things in whenever you need to turn things in. Everything is self-paced. Abby, what kind of presentations do you do in your job? Do you stand in front of people in a conference room? Well, currently, because we're remote, I just sit in front of my computer. But I understand your question. I actually onboarded remotely, so I've never stood in a conference room in front of people. But once I get back to the office, I will be doing presentations. Yes. I would say like maybe 20% presentation. Most of my stuff is still like pretty technical work. I spend most of my time like coding and thinking about analyses and things like that. Yep. Ranjit, is data science career just in its beginning phase? I'm not really sure I understand that question. Are you saying like, is data science still like a very undeveloped field? If that's the question, then yes, it is. Data science is a field that's still, people are trying to figure out what data scientists do, right? So yeah, there's still a lot of room for growth. To TB mode, can you recommend something on more intermediate level? Truthfully speaking, if you want to go for something that's intermediate level, I think you should not do more courses. After you get the beginner stuff done, I think you should focus on doing projects. Because that's going to be the fastest and best way to approach, to learn and to approach getting better at something after you're past the beginning stages. On 75, will data science jobs get automated by robots in the future? No, I don't think so. I do not think so, because data science is very analytical in its thinking. Maybe robots would take over the actual coding portion of it. Like for example, ML is very automated now. Most of the people who use machine learning now are not data scientists. They're actually software engineers because they're already in packages and you can just easily call them. But in terms of like formulating questions, like for understanding what the business question is and applying that, that's something that is gonna be what data scientists are gonna concentrate on more in the future. Yep. Ibrahim, is LaTeX important at work, or is it fine to make reports on MS Office? I have never had to use LaTeX at my job. Either here or at Goldman Sachs or really anywhere else. Yeah. All right, to be mode, where to get data for projects, and some resources apart from your previous suggestions. There's data everywhere. Data science, like seriously, I can't stress this enough. There's literally data everywhere. You can find it in data sets that are pre-cleaned. You can find them that are partially cleaned. You can go and scrape your own data from websites. Depends on what your project is, and I guarantee you'll be able to find data on it. Jignesh, what career resources would Google provide at the end? Great question. So except for all the like tutorials and things like that, they're also going to connect you in this hub with 130 other employees that are US based, and they will be hiring directly from the certificate program. They've actually pledged certain quota of people that they will be hiring from the certificate, and Google itself will also be hiring from it. So yeah, it almost functions like a boot camp, like a really, really cheap boot camp. So you usually pay like 10K, 20K to go to a boot camp. So this is such a great deal. On 75, how do oh, you're asking someone else. Cool. All right. So thank you all so much for joining. So unless you guys have any, I think I answered most people's questions so far. But if you have any questions, please ask them now. Because if not, I'm going to sign off and go grab some dinner because it's 7:15 p.m. here. All right. Also, do you guys see Beep Beep here? He's just sitting on my lap. Cool. Farhan, thoughts on Code Academy's data science path? I don't know, I'm afraid. I haven't actually looked at Code Academy's data science path. Melody, this is your best video. Please do more live. You think so? Ah, that actually means a lot. I was totally nervous starting off doing this live because I've never actually done like live sessions before, except for when I'm studying. Yeah, let me know if you have any ideas for what else you want me to do live. Okay, on 75, how am I going to re-upload this to my channel? After I finish the live stream, it will be there. It will just be under my channel. Valeria, hello Tina, I have a question. What are the latest trends in data analysis of the city? I'm sorry, I don't exactly understand what that question means. The latest trends in data analysis of the city? Sorry, I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, please feel free to rephrase that question if I'm not comprehending it. What am I making for dinner? Ibrahim, bon appetit. What am I making for dinner? I think I'm gonna get, I don't know. Pretty down for curry, for some Japanese curry. Yeah, pretty down for that. Logan, where can you find pro bono projects? Check out my video on 3 more data science project ideas. I talk about where to find consulting, pro bono consulting projects. Maya, what makes a good project? Oh, I went over that earlier. What makes a good project? So, impact. TLDR version, impact makes a good project. Something that actually changes the real world. That is what makes a good project. Salman Farsi, do you want to briefly summarize what we covered today? I'm sorry I was not able to join on time. Oh yeah, for sure. Let me actually do a summary. Really, really good idea. Let me just answer like a couple more questions first, and then I will do a summary so that people actually know. Right. No, I would not go. I don't think I will ever go back to being a software engineer. I don't think I enjoy software engineering very much. Jordan, what courses were you talking about? Asking business questions for data analysis. The second course. In the second course is what I was referring to. Learning data science. What are your thoughts on books for supplementing learning? Books, perfectly fine. I think there's just so much information and learning out there, resources out there. So it's not really the lack of resources, it's your ability of absorbing the information. So if you learn better from books, then totally go with books. All right. Okay, I'm gonna do a summary now. Let me pull up I have like a brief like overview of the things I wanted to talk about. So I'm gonna just summarize what we talked about today. So yeah, today we went over a brief overview of what the general program, how it works, how much you pay, why I think it's really awesome, and I also walked through each of the courses, and I was really impressed by this program by how it was super business aligned. Like the stuff that you're teaching you is stuff that you're going to be doing at your job. It's not something that's completely like unrealistic. And all the courses they're teaching you, it's not just like how to analyze, right? It's about asking the right questions. It's about like being able to present your analysis so that it actually creates impact in the future. And it also gives you a pretty good overview of all the tools that are being used. It does use R instead of Python. I'm more partial to Python, but I don't think that should be a reason for you to not take that course. If you know R, you can easily pick up Python. their job readiness claim, they're saying like in 6 months you're going to be able to get a job. And if it were any other company saying that, or any other course, I would be like, I don't believe you. But because it is Google and they do have an entire job hub with 130 different US employees currently, and they said they'll be hiring directly from the certificate as well, I do believe that if you complete the certificate, build a portfolio in addition to what is already going to be covered in the class, then you will be job ready, and I think you will be able to get a job. Who do I think will benefit the most from the certificate? People who are transitioning into data and analytics, and also people who have that time dedication to actually make that transition, because this is it's a hard course. Like it's immersive. Like it's a really long period of time. And finally, I talked about what my tips are to actually maximize your chances of successfully completing the certificate, because as Albert mentioned, and several of you mentioned before, only 10% of these MOOCs actually get completed. So in order to do that, you want to be accountable. I have live streams, feel free to join that. I also have a Discord group linked in the descriptions, so feel free to join that as well to find an accountability partner. Study by breadth over depth. Don't just try to memorize every single thing like these people are trying to tell you, because this entire skill set, like this career path, is about analytical thinking. It's about problem solving. It's not about memorizing information. So don't just copy everything down. Don't take copious amounts of notes. Learn what you don't know. Learn smart. If you learn what you don't know, then you can always go back and know them in the future. And finally, don't skip the practical experiences and the capstone project. The capstone project is extremely, extremely awesome. The fact that you're only paying $39 per month for it, please take advantage of that, and build up your portfolio as well to increase your chances of getting hired. That's what we covered today. All right, guys. It was awesome chatting with you guys. Thanks so much, like for showing up and for just joining me. This is my first proper live that was not a study session, so it's so much fun. If you guys want me to do more live sessions or different topics that you want me to cover, I would love to do them. I know that I'm a lot slower in creating videos currently because I'm working on a lot of different projects, so if I can supplement doing live videos, that would be completely awesome. Like I feel so happy right now and motivated and energized from talking to you guys. So do let me know. All right, I will see you guys soon. I have a video coming out, and tomorrow at 7:30 CST, I will be going live as well in terms of my study session, which happens every single week on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. All right, I'll catch you guys later. Thanks again for joining.